So are you in crisis right now and you don't quite know what the cause is? Well, it could be it's a spiritual awakening or initiation. So in this video, I'm going to outline the 4 main stages of awakening. So you can see where you might be in that and what are the things that happen in there and the specific crises that arise. Because each time you expand into new territory, it's unknown and a part of you is going to really resist it and not understand and kick and scream. And this creates crises all along the way. But if you know what they are, you can ride the wave and it goes a whole lot better. So firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it through the lens of the 4-body model. This comes from Vedanta in the East, and it is really a practical model that helps you understand a lot of spirituality and what's going on with you. So the 4 bodies. We have the first body, which is the physical body, gross physical body. It's just called the gross body. Now, this is also about levels of consciousness. So if you live from the gross body, you tend to have just a very muggle existence. It's the matrix being, very scientific. If you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. So that is that physical gross. What is next up is around that is the subtle body. Think of it as your energy field, your aura. It's the chakra system, all that lovely stuff. It is also the astral body and the astral realm. So this gross body is your daily life body. And then the subtle body is your dreaming body. It travels around, has amazing experiences. It's also the body you use when you do inner journeys. Okay, so probably quite familiar with this body already if you sensed it. Now, not many teachings actually go beyond this, but there is levels beyond it. So what's the body that's greater than subtle? And that would be the causal dimension. Now, this is very fascinating because the causal is literally the cause of everything. It's where your creation of your life comes from. But the weird thing about it is that you're not really in control of it, not from this conscious mind aspect anyway. The causal body is the body of all your lives and all existences into one. Think of it maybe like an oversoul or something. So it's the body of all of you. When you first get into this causal level, it feels a bit like literally darkness. It's called also the body of ignorance, because when you get in there, you feel you don't know nothing. So even though it contains your blueprint for your life, it's your higher self, all your existences, your first approach to that is going to be blank, nothing. Very confusing. This is also the I am. It's also the now. So when you exist in this causal level, you probably do it already without really knowing it. Causal, it's when you have the I am sense. When you meditate on I am, and you listen to teachers who talk about presence, I am, stillness, Eckhart Tolle and those people, causal or above. And you can feel it now as the sense of presence, I am. It's also the witness. Now what happens when you go beyond the witness? So the witness is witnessing the world, like that, like a perspective, very quiet, silent witness. But the witness itself is known. And that is known by the great causal. The great causal body, also known as the non-dual body. So that is pure awareness. And that is the body of everything that is aware. Basically the whole of creation. It's the body of creation. And beyond that is infinity. And mostly we don't bother about that. It's too off the map for us. So within these 4 bodies, we can locate specific spiritual growth points, which I'll outline shortly. But first, guys, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Help me boost the channel and keep doing this work. Okay, so we've got the 4 bodies, and then we have 4 stages of awakening, which align more or less with these 4 bodies. Stage 1, the existential awakening, or awakening from the matrix. Also call it awakening from cultural conditioning. So this is where you're existing just as the body, just as little me in this little world. I've got to do things and I'm fulfilling so many roles. It's when the roles suddenly collapse. Father, mother, husband, all that, good citizen. Suddenly it loses meaning. And that is a huge crisis that is happening in the world right now. It's like an enforced crisis. The economies and the various wars going on has destabilized this limited existence so much that we're being forced to enter this first stage of awakening. I think many of you are there, easily there, definitely. Anybody speaks about their awakening, you'd awaken from this dream of this, that this is all there is. So if you think that if you wake from this is all there is, that's usually going into stage 1. Stage 1 is beautiful because now you're accessing from the gross body into the subtle body. Now you start appreciating meditation, inner journeys. This is the great stage of inner work, psychological work. You might take your neuroses and that, go to a therapist, start working on it, do your family constellations, all that lovely stuff. Do yoga. Very beautiful. But I'm emphasizing also the crisis point. So if you're at this crisis of leaving, I don't want to underestimate this. It's one of the most difficult because you're leaving society, as it were. Suddenly your relationships, your family might no longer make sense. Your work doesn't make sense. So this is you. So if this is you, what you want to know is that this is on track and on time. It's meant to be here now. And what you've got to go do is settle more into the next phase, which is the subtle body. Investigate spirituality. But it is not meant forever. And it too has an end point, which is brought about by crises. So what is the crisis at the end of stage 1? The crisis goes something like this. I've been doing all this work and all this therapy and I've improved a bit. I still suffer. It's not getting me anywhere. I'm treading water, spinning wheels, all this therapy, and I'm still neurotic. I still suffer. So that is the sobering moment when you thought that if you just followed on this trajectory, more meditation, more prayer, more inner work, you would reach the end of suffering. And at that sobering moment, I realized that I still suffer and this route is not going to get me there. And it's going to be hard as well because you might have invested a lot. You might have thought, I'm going to become a teacher of this. So now how do you teach this if you know that it doesn't really end suffering? Because you still suffer and you've become an expert in some field of this. So it'll feel like emptiness. It'll feel like betrayal, a bit of betrayal by God. Because once again, you thought you'd found a stable place, but it's not stable. What is really happening here is that this is initiation into stage 2. So what next we have is stage 2, which is the heart awakening. Stage 2, the heart awakening, or awakening to presence. When we think of heart awakening, we think of, love, peace, bliss. This is what we were aiming for the whole time. And you think, I want a heart awakening. I'm going to love people more. Not necessarily. The heart, as we use it here, is going beyond the mind. So this is the beginning of the stage of moving from mind to heart. If you look carefully at stage 1, the limiting point of stage 1 was it stayed in the mind. You were in control. You're controlling meditations, your inner work, your yoga. If I just do more therapy, and then you build an identity. I should have mentioned this in stage 1, but these are the traps. The trap of stage 1 is your spiritual identity. I'm the spiritual one. I know what's going on. I'm getting an expert in this. I can teach others. I'll point out others' mistakes. The other serious problem with stage 1, my friends, conspiracy thinking. Conspiracy is rife in the early stages of stage 1 because suddenly you perceive how messed up the world is. But because you're still operating from the mind and duality, you describe that fault, the evil, to others. So those people, even if you have no evidence that those people are running the world and are evil, you'll say that they're evil and that you're against them. Can you see how duality comes in? So they might be running the world, but it's not your business. Your business is you, your presence. And eventually you'll see that evil that you see is you. You're the evil. Everything is within you. You've got to bring it back to you. Okay, so leave those conspiracies behind and continue softening and then moving into the heart. Now, the heart you don't know. It's the first level of I don't know. So the way of the heart is the unconditional love of not knowing where we're going. This can be hugely disconcerting because you built a bit of an identity around knowing in stage 1. Now you've really let a lot of that go. So this is the first awakening to presence. So you might start noticing more presence, just natural presence. You'll start appreciating Eckhart Tolle more. It'll start making a bit more sense here, because it's all a teaching from presence. Okay, so you can also spend quite a lot of time here. It's a beautiful stage. At first, it's quite a rocky road getting there, but your task here is just to start awakening to presence, to the being of I am. I am is the next stage, but you're going to start feeling it now. It'll help you settle into the next stage. So here also in stage 2, you will perhaps go back to your yoga and do these things again, perhaps even go to therapy again, but you will have more like a realistic expectation of the outcomes. You'll know that suffering is not ended through that. Suffering is ended more through presence. But you can continue doing these old practices. You can continue being a yoga teacher or spiritual teacher, whatever you're going, but you're just adding it, you're going deeper, more presence, more stillness. Okay. Which sets us up for stage 3, the causal awakening or non-dual glimpse. This, my friends, can also be a shock. It is one of the traditional dark nights of the soul, because suddenly you're really thrust into not knowing. So stage 2 with heart, it was almost like the light of the causal was shining in, bringing its not knowingness of heart wisdom. Now you're totally in it. And it can be a huge shock, because some of your identity just disappears or is subverted. The causal is I am. Now, when you go into it easily through meditation, it's comfortable and easy. But if you get thrust into it very sharply, the I am is just such a still present, and it's not like you. It doesn't feel like you. It just feels like a universal I am. It's universal, but with a perspective of you. Hard to describe. But if you sense of real, I've done all my spiritual work, I've done this, and suddenly I've hit this level where my crisis is emptiness, confusion. I don't know who I am, not as in who I am in the world, but who am I as a being? Like my beingness disappears or frays, because where does I end and you begin? Who's doing any of this? Who's lifting this pen? Those questions might come to you. If you have that question, this is indicative of your arrival in the causal. Remember, it's a body, so you might it's like you're living from that causal body more, while still living in physical and subtle bodies. So this is a crisis level because of the unknowing aspect of it, and life is unfolding. So you get in touch with the life unfoldingness. This again is Eckhart Tolle type level. He teaches maybe from beyond here, but this is like, I guess, where the body of his work is focused. Causal. He also talks in his courses sometimes, like in meditation, saying, you are not anybody, I am nobody. These mysterious statements that he makes without really explaining it, you'll understand it in the causal, and it'll bring you some relief. Yes, I am nobody, yet I am here. So you fall into the awareness and practice this awareness. So your therapy here for you is to go deeper into I am awareness. Listen to the non-dual teachers, who often sometimes just teach from this level or the next level. But this is what I would call like the practical non-dual level. This is all you really need. The sense of I am, the sense of awareness, the sense of presence, which quietly then disrupts the idea of me and you as separate people. So you play with me and you, separate people, but underneath you have a sense of, it's a flow. The whole thing is a flow. So even right now, as you're watching this, it's not like you watching me. There's just this appearance. Watching is happening. So now at the end of this stage, you might just naturally drift into stage 4, which I call the collapse of meaning. And this is where we go into the more non-dual. So this is your great causal body, non-dual. The pain here is, I guess, the total collapse of meaning. Because if everything's non-dual, not even a subject-object, it's just this just this spontaneous happening. But still you've got to make a living in the world, you've got to be in the world. Still part of you will be operating from a dualistic set. Your mind will still be working, body's still working. It's going to be quite confusing to hold this. And nothing here will really make sense. There'll be nothing important. So this is traditionally where you go off into the mountains and meditate and forget about the world. But that's the beginning stage. At the end, you've got to come back into the world. So that is the mature stage of the pure non-dual, is to come back in the world and do your thing. Pick up all the other things. Pick up things that have meaning or that you just enjoy in the moment. At these levels, the high levels of being, say from the causal to the great causal, you'll find a lot of meaning issues, a lot of lack of motivation, even your spiritual stuff. That's very confusing when you've dedicated your life to spiritual practice and suddenly that disappears. Sure, God disappears, but that's the typical dark night of the soul St. John of the Cross wrote about. Dedicate your life to God and suddenly God disappears, just utter blackness, meaninglessness, abandonment. Very, very challenging. So if this is one of your crises, utter meaninglessness, could be this causal level, could be any of the levels actually. What you want to do is just settle in, say, this is okay. This is an unfolding. It's like the caterpillar that dissolves in the chrysalis and then comes out as a butterfly. You got to sometimes just be with the dissolving. And I always recommend just being with the pain, sitting with it, breathing into it, and allowing it to be there. Our basic practice is notice what's happening. Can you say yes to it just for now? And fully feel it. Just feel all of it. Feel the confusion. Feel the breakup of your life. Falling apart, don't know where I'm going, groundlessness. Feel it. When you allow the feeling, you'll notice around it there's actually a sense of peace, a sense of stillness. Even the groundlessness is known. So something is knowing, witnessing the groundlessness that you're feeling. That is you, the real you, witnessing, or aware, or pure awareness. So how does that feel, my friends? Does it help you at all? 4 stages, and by the way, they don't all have to be exactly linear. They often intertwine, which makes it even more confusing. And other teachers will probably break up spiritual growth into different stages, but you might find they fit into this, because this really takes you from first awakening to practically enlightenment, full awareness. Okay, so you'll be somewhere in there, perhaps sub-stages. Right, I'm going to leave it there for now. Please do let me know what's happening with you, what stage you're in, any advice for others. You're free to challenge me, offer other spiritual steps that I might have forgotten, or other crises that I've left out. Let's have a discussion. All right, if you do enjoy this, like and subscribe for more. Until next time.